Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be going over something a little bit different than usual. It's kind of like my jobs, internships, rejection story time. And you're also going to notice I'm going to be wearing something a little bit different, and that's actually because I'm wearing like a, oh, maybe I have to go out all the way here for you to see, a pouch where she is actually here. This is the new foster cat. She is Charlotte, and if I could try to bring her up here, there she is. Because of the fact that she's actually originally a feral. I was actually trying to record this video, that all of a sudden I was able to pick her up for the first time in a really long time. And then I was like, you know what, I might as well just keep her in my pouch, because this is just a cool way to kind of get her socialized to human touch and also to be held. So I'm going to be going over my job rejections, how I felt, how I overcame it. And I think this is definitely something more interesting than most other videos, because you're just being more vulnerable and showing people like how you were rejected and what you did. Mostly when it comes to internships and jobs, you're going to get rejected more. And not a lot of people talk about the stories and even your failures. They talk about when you get the job or the internship or something like that. But today I'm going to go over my rejection stories, and there are going to be some parts where you may be surprised yourself. So I will definitely say that, like most freshmen, almost everything rejected me. A lot of them basically reject the moment I applied, so it's just like an email immediately after I just pressed submit. So they kind of had a sense of it, either through like AI or just maybe just not a really good fit based off of the application. And then sometimes like I didn't even get a chance to even do an interview. I don't even think I got any interviews that year. Like most people who don't really have that much experience. I had some high school experiences, but they weren't enough to do some kind of like corporate internship as a freshman. Most places were looking for juniors and seniors, but for freshmen it was unheard of. But one thing that really worked out for me is I always tried to be friendly and always try to do some kind of chit chat with my friends' parents. But when it came to, aw, Dawn actually wants to come in. Here we go, we got Dawn and we got Charlotte. So this was actually all through connections. Michelle Lamb actually interviewed her on my channel. Her mom actually was the one who was like, oh, well, I like Christine. Like, how about an internship at my company? So I ended up getting an internship there, but it wasn't without issues. So the first internship interview I had was actually with retail finance, and the retail finance, it was, I don't even know if that interview went, because I got rejected, but also I never got fully rejected. And what I mean by that is that when I started my internship there as a retail operations intern, no one was there. So I was wondering, like, did they just decide to dissolve the role, or maybe they just didn't have the budget for it, or what? I don't know. But I got an internship in retail operations there. I think I actually kicked ass there, because a lot of times I got compliments for what I was doing. I spoke up in meetings, which is something that I was so scared of, especially as a freshman. I was like, why do people want to listen to me? I'm only a freshman. I'm not even a junior or a senior. What do I possibly know? But I actually brought in my experience in Staples, where I was working retail, like on the floor and whatnot. And this time, this is like a retail company on the inside in corporate. So there was like some kind of feedback I could provide. And I also had some kind of skills as well on the computer that they also like to use. So that's how much I learned in freshman year. I guess it's really, I didn't really learn much, because it's just, I accepted the fact that I couldn't really get an interview, or that I accepted the fact that I accepted the fact that sometimes, even if there's no internship, sometimes they may just dissolve the role and it's not on you. Who knows? Maybe I just wasn't qualified and I was the only person up for that. But sophomore year, definitely I had a lot of lessons. This is where I was like, okay, I'm going to apply to everything. I'm not even going to try to be picky about anything. So I didn't really care about what it was, where it was. I mean, I did do it in New York City, but when I'm talking about where it was, I'm talking about the industry or the type of company. But I applied to literally everything, and I got rejected to everything. But not in the way like it was in freshman year, where I got rejected based off of my application. It was actually rejected off of my interview. I actually had a decent number of interviews, and again, these were all unpaid. But then there was like an opportunity where it was a paid internship. But I'll get back into that later. So there's a few times where, oh no, my camera right now is on a cat balcony and Dawn wants to go on it. I'm like, oh. So moving on, when it came to sophomore year, I got rejected mostly because of the interviews. I just didn't do so well. For my interviews, it was constantly just going to be about like ums, uhs, likes, or I just really didn't know how to talk about myself. I always felt like I was boasting, or that the fact that I just did not want to lie. Because, you know, like, how many times do you have experiences in all these things that they're looking for, especially as a sophomore? For me, a lot of them I actually did have, but I felt like I was lying because of the fact that I was just like, what do I know? Like, sure, I know Excel, but do I really know Excel? I mean, I know basic Excel functions, but if I'm talking about like VLOOKUP, I did not know about it at my sophomore year. But there's a lot of things out there that I just always thought that I did not have the ability to do it, or I just did not have the confidence for. But also because of that, it showed in my interviews. A lot of my interviews were either phone interviews or video interviews, so there was a lot of times where there were awkward pauses, and at that time I really honestly did not know how to talk to people. I did not have good small talk skills. I did not know what to talk about. In general, I just always answered the questions that they gave us, and I had a list of generic questions I asked at the very end, like, oh, what do you like about working here? Or what are the next steps? Like literally 3 to 4 questions. I never actually had a discussion or conversation, which is what most people like when they're trying to go for a cultural fit. They want to see that you can have a conversation and discussion as if you're a teammate. So I definitely did not do that. I was still an introvert at the time, still trying to sharpen those skills, but because I had so many interviews and I failed all of them, each time I did better. And there was actually one point where I was so close. And this is the part where I actually cried about this particular internship, because my application went through. I got my first round interview, went really well. Second round interview went really well. Third round interview was a last round interview. And the whole time, actually, on my resume, I showed my major GPA. I did not do so well in my freshman year classes when it came to like liberal arts kind of classes. So a lot of that really dragged down my GPA, and I'm gonna go over this in a different video about, is GPA really worth it? And to be honest, the GPA was kind of like a way for me to lie through my way, where I put in my major GPA and not my actual cumulative GPA at the time, just to make myself look a little bit better, because I always did well in my business classes. I didn't do that well in my other classes, especially I took Korean. And the second semester I didn't do so well. But yeah, so when it came to my grades, that was really my downside. They just gave me the third round interview. They were about to give me the offer, and then they wanted to confirm my GPA. When I told them my major GPA is actually this and my cumulative is this, and I had to actually provide my unofficial transcript, I lost it. So I was really upset. And I mean, most people, it's a little bit difficult too, because when you have a low GPA, you feel like you're so limited in options, especially all the things that you could be doing that may not even be attributed to the GPA. So it could be like internships or full-time jobs or part-time jobs, work-study jobs, also extracurriculars, projects, all these kind of things that were outside of your GPA. And I never was really a great student or a great tester. I just really was able to take the knowledge and apply it, but never on an exam. I know there's a lot of people like that, where they're really good at talking and doing, but they're not good at actually taking the test, and I wasn't one of them. So that was one thing that really held me back in my sophomore year. I lost that internship. To this day, that is probably the most technical role I could have gone that year. This was like a business technical analyst internship, and I just didn't get it, so I lost it. But luckily, I just kept on applying. I didn't care. I mean, it was literally like May. I just finished classes. I was going on my trip in California or something like that. And then I heard back on an email that I got an internship. And it wasn't even something I interviewed for. It was just like something random. KISS USA, do like a finance internship, which is just like, I never had an interview. They just gave me an offer based off of my application. The good thing was that it was paid, but still I was like, what? This is kind of sketchy. So I did some research, and it actually was the way it was. So I went in there, and then that's actually where I learned a lot about like what I did not want in an internship or job and what I liked out of it. So that was one thing. Luckily for that, it was paid, and I also had some experience to show for sophomore year. And when it comes to junior year, that's where everything went a little bit crazy. This time I knew for sure I can actually hone down what I want to do. So I'm not just gonna apply to everything. I apply to just tech roles and anything with data analytics. That at that time, that's all I wanted to do, tech or data analytics, and that's all I applied to. All of them, of course, were in New York, but a lot of them actually were just, I kept on applying. Some of them were just like, oh, your resume is not too technical enough. So midway during the year, I actually got an internship at my school's IT center. So I did that, and that helped me a little bit. Towards the end of the year, I think it was like maybe late spring semester, I was actually weighing between one offer and another. So how that actually happened was that I got an interview at J.Crew. And then I also had an interview at Analytic Partners where I ended up going for. So at first I was just like, J.Crew was kind of on a limbo because they're just pretty slow with their process. I had interviews at some friend's house too at one point, just a call. At that point, it came easily to me for interviews. Then I also had a call with Analytic Partners. I even went in person. But yeah, so during that entire time, it was just mostly I did interviews back to back to back, and I just learned a lot more about how to do better interviews. And I also used that internship in the IT center to really help sharpen my technical skills to help out with that aspect. And also in my school, there's something called core where you're working with a huge team, usually like 8 to 10 people, to build a product or a service and a business plan as well. So I mostly focus on data analytics portion. I tried to do that as well. And then I also use a lot of my leadership skills and my extracurriculars to try to pull everything together that I had the soft skills too. So when it came to J.Crew, it was actually IT project management. So I thought, okay, that is like the closest it is to technology consulting. But then there's also data analytics consulting. So the data analytics consulting is data analytics, but it's consulting. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So in the end of the day, I chose the one that paid me more, and I also chose the one that I thought like would give me something better than what I already have on my resume. So in this case, that would actually be consulting skills, in which I did not have anything prior to this. It was mostly just technical skills. Aw, she's crying. It's okay, it's okay. Oh, she ran away from me. That what, like made up half the video? But yeah, so when it came to senior year, that actually was probably the easiest year in terms of internship job hunts, just because I had a relevant internship in my junior year. I also had a good internship during the school year, and also during my senior year fall semester, I also had an internship in product management for e-commerce. So there was just like, I just kept hustling. I needed technical experience. I needed at least not a technical experience, but experience working in technology, kind of, at least. So that's what I ended up doing. And when it came to the senior year, I actually came prepared. I knew for sure I wanted Accenture. So I applied for Accenture. I had the resume ready. I already networked and spoke to a lot of Accenture consultants at that time during the summer. And then on top of that, I went to the career fair all prepared. I had everything I needed. If you want to see my video in terms of how I actually got my job at Accenture, then definitely check out the video over here. And throughout the entire process, it was a very learning experience because I realized how far I've gone. Just from my freshman year interview to the case interview I had at Accenture, it was just like unheard of. I just did not notice how big of a change I had. All these rejections really helped me because these rejections helped me learn about how can I be less awkward? What kind of things can I ask about to them about the company or the job? So a lot of these interviews, I actually learned a lot in terms of what I should be saying, and what a skill I really learned from all these rejections is how to pivot the conversation based off of who I'm talking to, what the question is, what the company is, and really try to, bullshit your way through. I'm not actually bullshitting, but I'm talking in a way that like you're really pulling the story together on the spot. You're thinking on the spot. That was a skill I had to learn from a lot of failures in terms of interviews, of just like, what do I do? Like, those were the things that I really sucked at because I'm an INTJ when it comes to Myers-Briggs, 100% T, 100% J. So I really didn't do so well when it came to flexibility or things that came up to me spontaneously. But those really helped me out to really push me to those limits, because you sometimes get thrown curveballs. Maybe you're not thrown a curveball and you just don't know how to answer it because you're just stumbling. So that was one way that really helped me learn how to really ace this interview at Accenture, and here I am now. My biggest advice from all the things that I've learned throughout my rejections is that, number one, GPA does not mean everything. I'm gonna make a separate video on this, on what you can do and like, is it really possible to get a job in a top consulting firm with a low GPA? The answer is yes, because I had a 2.89 when I graduated. The lowest I had was 2.7. So at any point during that time, it never went above 3.0. And this is just something that like I was very self-conscious about. I actually beat myself a lot too, that like, oh, I could have gotten all these cool internships, I could have gotten all these jobs because of that. Thankfully, Accenture saw beyond that. They actually saw the experience, they saw the extracurriculars. I had to provide my transcript, so I wasn't actually lying since day one. I had to provide my transcript. at application time. So I wasn't lying. I wasn't providing a major GPA this time. I wasn't providing a cumulative GPA. They already knew everything before they even called me for an interview. So GPA is not really everything. It still does matter, but then you also have to realize the rigor of your school as well, because I know a lot of companies such as Accenture as well, they do adjust on their GPA requirement based off of the rigor of the school. So with BU, they're actually really well known for grades deflation. I was definitely hit big time from that. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't always need to have a great GPA. I mean, you should still have a great GPA. Don't just like flunk your classes just because of what I'm saying. But you really should also try to build that whole story too. Your extracurriculars, your internships, some work study jobs, all these kind of things that you're doing outside of school that show you have some kind of character, and also do some projects too on the side. If you are trying to build your own brand, that's really important as well. So the other big advice I have is that actively learn about what's out there and learn about the companies and industries. Always be open-minded. You want to make sure that you're in a good fit. When you're trying to apply for your dream job or dream company, make sure to ask yourself, why is it your dream job? Why is it your dream company? Does it even work? Are you just liking the image of it? Are you liking what other people talk about it? You need to make sure, think about, are you good for big companies, small companies, creative, technical? Like, what kind of roles do you want? Do you want problem solving? You want a lot of leadership and ownership? All those kind of things. You need to think about it, and also think about the people as well. That was a major factor for me when it came to Accenture, is like the global and the diversity way of Accenture. While I had internships where it was like all Korean, all white, all male, like there was just no really good balance, but Accenture had all that. So it was really easy for me to build that story based off of my prior internships into actual interview and why I wanted Accenture to begin with. So just knowing that is really key. You don't have to know what you want to do, just know what you like, know what you are good at, and then know like what kind of environments you thrive in. Those kind of answers can really help you build an answer for a lot of interview questions that people ask from all kind of companies. So really think to yourself though, before you apply to companies or jobs that you really don't care about, really think to yourself, do I really care about this place? Could I do well in this job or internship? And then apply for it. Because when I really significantly cut down my funnel in terms of the applications I was making, I definitely saw that the conversion rate was a lot higher because they themselves saw my resume and thought I was a good fit, just because I thought the same way for myself. So you have to think about it's both ways too. You can't just apply just because you want to apply. You're going to waste a lot of energy. You're going to waste a lot of time just to do that when you could do a lot better with something that really, really speaks to you. So that's my biggest advice. GPA doesn't mean anything, and also try to make sure you find a good fit. If you haven't seen my video on Ikigai, definitely check it over here. It really walks down in terms of like what kind of things you can keep in mind of to find that great fit. And this is exactly what I use through every single internship, every single job I had. I used this to reevaluate what I liked, what I did not like, what I was good at, and what I wanted to do. So that way it made it so much easier to actually prepare for interviews. It was like basically applying was 50% of the way, and also tailoring your resume. You wanted to tailor it to that company and job. So that way as well was really easy for me because it just came naturally. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot. Job rejections are definitely hard to kind of muster up the courage and just move on, but you really have to, and especially when it comes to internships too. The role is gone or that they can't afford you. Sometimes it's not about you, sometimes it's also about the company. So don't beat yourself up to it when you get a rejection. Think about why were you rejected and reflect on it. A lot of people get rejected, just move on. They don't actually think about why were they rejected. They may ask the recruiter why, but they don't actually process it. And then move on with something that you actually want. Don't just blindlessly apply because you're trying to find something. So definitely subscribe for more of this content and give me a like. Thank you so much, and leave any comments down below for any questions you have. Thank you. Bye.